Hello everyone and welcome to Fill the Gap. I'm Dr. Anpu and today we're going to learn about pedigree charts. Every time pedigree questions come in the exam, students tend to skip the questions because they think it's too hard or difficult. But it's super easy. You just need to know the right clues and where to apply those clues. So this video is about all of the clues that you need to solve a pedigree question. And I'm telling you, next time after watching this video, when you attempt a pedigree question, you will not go wrong. Without a doubt, you can attack those questions. So let's get started. So when you look at a pedigree chart, you'll see a square. This represents a male. If you see a circle, it represents a female. Now, if this square is filled in or colored in, then that male is affected. If the circle is colored in, that female is affected. If the square is half colored in, then the male is a carrier. If the female is half colored in, the female is a carrier of the disease. Okay? So this is the female, male. So square for male and circle for female. Now, if I draw a line between the male and female, then they are united in marriage. And if so like this, it will look like this. So they are married. Now, if I draw like this and draw circles and squares, this means that they have 3 kids. 2 daughters. This is a daughter, this is a daughter, and this is a son. Okay? Now, let me just ask you, if I color in this and this one, and if I color in this, what does this mean? That the father is affected and he has passed on his trait to both the daughters. Because they're also affected, they're also colored in. Okay, now let's look at the clues. So these are the 4 types or modes of inheritance: autosomal dominant and recessive, sex-linked, dominant and recessive. So these are the clues. So I've made 4 columns. Now let's go into each of it. So autosomal dominant is the first one we will talk about. Autosomal dominant, if you look at the first clue, it says it does not skip generations. Okay, that means in every single generation, one person is affected. Second, affected parents can have unaffected children. So I'm just drawing the simple pedigree chart. Okay, you can see the wife or the mother is affected. Now, when it comes to the children, we'll see the children are unaffected. Okay. Now let's look at autosomal recessive. In recessive, yes, it skips generation. That means in one generation, the parents could be healthy, and the second generation, the children, they could be affected. So unaffected parents can have affected children. Okay, so let's just draw it. Let's draw it here. Unaffected parent, father, mother, and the children. And children could be affected. So, unaffected parents, they are not affected, but the children are affected. Here, what in the dominant we saw, affected parent, but unaffected children. Okay, now let's go into the X-linked, dominant, and recessive. So, what is this? X-linked dominant means? That means the disease-causing gene is present in the X chromosome, but the expression is dominant. So, dominant is the expression, okay, and even here recessive is the expression. Now, the clue for X-linked dominant is disease is never transferred from the father to the son, which means It's either from the father to the daughter or mother to the son. Now don't get confused with this. Okay, don't get confused with this. The main clue is still coming. See, the second point is a really important clue for X-linked dominant. All daughters of the affected father will be affected. So how will the pedigree chart look like? So if this is the father and the mother, and we know that the father is affected, and so the father has a son and 2 daughters. So all daughters of the affected father will be affected means all the daughters will be affected. The son will be unaffected. We know that it doesn't transfer from father to the son. So this is a really important clue. You have to remember it. And most often, but not always, you'll see that the affected people in the pedigree chart on a whole, if you count the number of females, it will be more in X-linked dominant pedigree. Okay, so mostly X-linked dominant is mostly females. Now let's look at X-linked recessive. Okay, so recessive is the expression here. Here the disease again will not be transferred from the father to the son. So it's either father to the daughter or mother to the son. But the main clue is just coming. So the second clue is the main clue. See, disease transfer from the father to the daughter and mother to the son. Basically this one, mother to the son. This one is the main clue. So if it's mother to the son, how will the pedigree chart look like? Let's just try solving it. So it will look like this. Father and the mother is affected, and let's say they have 4 kids, 2 sons, 2 daughters, and the sons will be affected. So what does this mean when you look at this chart? That the mother has passed it on to the sons. So this is a clue for X-linked recessive. And just like the previous one we saw that it's more on the females. But here if you count, more number of males will be affected. Okay, let's look at this first pedigree chart. Here you see father is affected, mother is affected, son affected, daughter affected. This son is unaffected. So let's just write unaffected because everyone else is affected. This son is unaffected. So they are all affected. Affected parents affected parent has affected children, but one child is unaffected. Here what do we see? This mother is not affected, but this father is affected. So this girl, this daughter is unaffected. Again, the son is affected. So just by looking at this, do you see something? Do you see a clue? Well, I already saw it. Can you see it? Affected parents can have unaffected children. Affected parent, again unaffected children. So what comes in, which clue is that? Yes, it is for autosomal dominant. Very clear. Now we see that this unaffected children, because they don't have any trait in them, they pass on nothing. They don't pass on any disease to their kids. Both the parents are unaffected, so children are also unaffected. So this is how you solve the pedigree chart. Now let's look at another example. In this pedigree chart, you'll see that the males and females are equally affected. There's around 1, 2, 3, 4 males and 5 females. Yeah, so that's not a big difference, right? Almost equal or equal numbers of males and females are there. We can say that it's autosomal. And you can see that, in this generation, This is the parents. They have 4 kids, 4 kids. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this set of parents also have 4 kids. But these 2 kids, you can see that they are unaffected, right? They are unaffected. So this disease is not going into this generation. So it's skipping generation. All right. So skipping is there. Skipping generation is there. Next thing that you need to notice is, if you look at this particular area, let me just use a different color. Yeah, this particular area, you'll see that this unaffected parents, they have an affected child. Look, this daughter is affected despite the parents being unaffected. So what does that mean? Does that give you a clue? Yes, that's a main clue for autosomal recessive. So this is an autosomal recessive pedigree chart. So we'll see skipping of generation as well as this main clue, unaffected parent has an affected child. Now let's look at another one. In this one you see, okay, father is affected, children 1, 2, 3. This parent has 3 daughters. 3 daughters are affected. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 males and about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 females affected. Okay, we see that females are more affected. Okay, that just gives us one clue. Clue number 1. Clue number 1. What else do you see here? Do you see something different here? Affected. This is the affected father. Gives the genes to all his daughters. All daughters are affected. So this is another clue, a big clue actually. Clue number 2. That affected father passes on his trait to all his daughters. Okay. So this gives us a very big clue, and we know this clue belongs to X-linked dominant. X-linked dominant. One way to remember this X-linked dominant is dad, daughter, dominant. This is another 3 Ds. Okay, this is a small clue. 3 Ds. Dad, daughter, dominant. So dad passes on to all his daughters. So this is X-linked dominant. So now let's look at another one, last pedigree chart. So in this pedigree chart, you'll see this here. The mother is affected. They have 4 children. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 daughters and 2 sons. You'll see that 2 sons are, basically all sons are affected. All sons affected. Then you will see this mother, again this is a mother and father. Here both mother and father are affected. So all children, sons and daughters, all of them are affected. So do you see any clues here? Yes, mother to sons. You can see that the daughters are not affected. Mother to sons. Yes, it is X-linked recessive. Mother is passing on trait to her son. Also, this, I told you, this is not always true, but then you can also count this. You can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sons and how many daughters? 3 daughters. So again, more males in this case. So X-linked recessive. And here if you look, this area, what do you see here? The mother, this is the father. Here the mother has not passed on her genes to not only her sons but also the daughter. How is that possible? Because the father is also affected. That is why here all three are affected. Both the parents are affected, so all three are affected. Okay? But here the father is not affected, the mother is affected, and she passes her genes only to all her sons. Okay, so that concludes that it is X-linked recessive. Let's just go through the whole thing in 1 minute. Here, autosomal dominant, we can see affected parents will have unaffected children. Autosomal dominant. Here, unaffected parents but affected children. Sex-linked dominant. Father passes to all his daughters. Father to daughter. And more females are there. In X-linked recessive, again, mother to all sons. To all sons. Mother to sons. Again, more males are here. So this is a summary of the pedigree chart. I hope this helped you. If you found this video helpful, do click the subscribe button and please do tell your friends about this channel and leave a comment on what topic I should do next. Thank you.